Well, Ken had this phenomenal ability to reach people. And here, someone's killing my best friend. They hooked him as a kid, as a 12-year-old.
7 months ago, when I got sick, I was in the hospital for a few weeks in Hempstead General and then eventually Sloan Kettering. And you learn, as I did, that I had cancer. I can tell you very little about those 3 weeks in the hospital because I really was sick. And I can tell you very little about the 3 weeks immediately following it because I was quite dazed after that. But when I learned that I had cancer, the first thing that I asked was, because it's the first thing you want to know, what kind of cancer do I have? There are cancers that can be cured, and there are cancers that cannot be cured. And I was told that I had lung cancer. And that was one of the ones that can't be cured. And I was told that I was going to die. I remember laying there and thinking about this thing called cancer, and I asked the doctors, when you find out that it's incurable, and those words, believe me, they ring in your ear, incurable, inoperable, and terminal, I asked them, well, isn't there anybody who beats this thing? And their answer was, there have been some, less than 1/10 of 1%. I laid there in that hospital and all I could think about was, I had always earned a living where I could pay my bills. And all of a sudden I realized I left my wife and my daughter in such terrible shape. And I was scared. So let me tell you what cancer is. Cancer is not what you do to yourself because you accept it once the doctors tell you, that's the facts. You're gonna die, you're gonna die. You accept it. But cancer is the pain that you see in your wife and your daughter's eyes. Cancer is the pain that I see in my brothers, my mother and father's eyes, my brothers' wives and their families. It's the pain that I see in my close friends' eyes. Cancer is a terror that you would never imagine. And for the past 7 months, I've had days where you live on an emotional edge. If somebody says the right thing to you, you cry because you're happy. If somebody says the wrong thing, you cry because you're unhappy. You just cry. It's a terrible, terrible disease.
How would you feel if you knew who was killing your best friend? Here's how Tony Schwartz felt.
If someone were to come down from Mars and happen to land in the United States and observe life here for a year and go back, I think the biggest story he would find is that there's one group of Americans who, for their business interest, are killing 500,000 Americans a year. The Surgeon General says 365,000 from the effects of cigarettes. And when you take the other forms of tobacco, chewing tobacco and snuff and so forth, they say about 500,000 a year. But let's even take as a total even 350,000 Americans a year. That's more Americans than Hitler killed, it outnumbers any other disease. And these people are allowed to get away with this because of their business interest. I don't think they want to kill people, but they don't want anything to stop them from making their money. And I feel that we have to stop their ability to kill this many Americans. They're killing my friend, and he has died since then. And I feel I have to take any way I can to make people aware of how these people are getting them. And they will go on television. The executive of one of the companies was on television one day, and he said that there is no indication, there is no scientific proof that cigarette smoke has affected anyone, has any ill effects. Well, I thought that was interesting, and I thought since it was on the morning national news, I'd do a commercial about it.
You know, at St. John's Episcopal Hospital, two of our busiest departments are the surgical department and the psychiatric department. In our surgical department, we see the effects of cigarettes on people every day. We see people with heart attacks. We see people with lung cancer. We see people with throat cancer. And we see people with emphysema, all caused by smoking cigarettes. But you know, after all of the medical evidence we've seen, and after all of the Surgeon General's reports, and after all of the government's warnings, and after all of the warnings printed on their own cigarette packages and in their own cigarette ads, cigarette company executives still aren't convinced that cigarettes have caused any cancer or endangered anyone's health. Therefore, as a community service, we'd like to offer free help for these cigarette company executives in our psychiatric department, to help get them back in touch with reality. Brought to you as a public service by St. John's Episcopal Hospital, Far Rockaway, Smithtown.
I've taken anything that comes up and try to use it almost as jujitsu. Try to use it against the cigarette companies, so when you hear anything, you can think of it in this terms and you begin to do it for yourself. For instance, when the Tylenol capsule problem came up, I did this commercial.
Brought to you in the public interest by WMCA. Did you know that the FBI is giving the highest priority to the case of the Yonkers woman who died after taking a Tylenol capsule laced with cyanide? And now hundreds of police and federal agents are working on this case. Stores have removed Tylenol capsules from their shelves. Many states have banned the sale of Tylenol capsules. Italy has banned them. The manufacturer has stopped making them, has even offered a $100,000 reward for the killer. All of this effort is being made because no one wants to take the chance that someone else might die from a product that contains poison. But you know what? There is a product being sold in stores all over the country that's so dangerous, it's killing over 1,000 people every day in this country. That's right, over 1,000 people every day. But this product isn't banned. Do you know what it is? It's cigarettes. Cigarettes.